Hi, I'm Phil from Driftworks. This is my buddy Jay, and this is my E30 M3 track car, which is powered by an S65 V8 engine and a DCT transmission, which we're about to put in the bin.
I've been waiting for this day.
So, why?
Why?
I mean, I probably don't need to answer that question for many people, do I? Those of you that have followed this build for probably 7 years since I actually started this build, initially bought it as an abandoned project with the S65 in it, but then ripped the whole thing apart, rebuilt everything to my own spec, and decided to go for a DCT in it, a 7-speed DCT. Reason why I went for that, I'd owned an E92 M3 and an E90 M3, and I'd used both of them, particularly the E90 I'd used on track a bit, and I just think it's an absolutely superb gearbox in the E90 M3. And I was sort of weighing up the ideas with this, whether I was going to stick with manual or not. Decided to go for the DCT because at the time I was told that it's kind of like a plug and play thing that you can just make work. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We are now, well, we're about 4.5 years into the actual development of the DCT gearbox in this car, and I have done, I don't know, let's say 10 track days. I've yet to finish one with a working gearbox.
Or at least put it back on the trailer in the same state as it started.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking anybody that's helped us along the way. There's been some fantastic help from everybody involved in this, and people have tried really hard. It's just, for me, just something isn't working. I don't know what it is, but we just cannot get this thing to stay consistent, do the same thing each time I drive it, and stay reliable. So the time has finally come, and there's a box behind you. This is the answer to everything. And it says Drent.
Another crate from Holland.
It is?
Yeah.
It's quite weird actually. They turned up within about a week of each other. One from Drent and one from Celeritech, both for my pride and joy BMWs. But yeah, there you go. That is a Drent GG500, designed to sit on the back of an S65 V8 and do all them lovely manual sequentially shifted things.
Clunky wines.
Oh yeah, the noise is going to be next level. Yeah, we're kind of resigned to the fact that this isn't a road car
No, it's pretty.
It was originally, but I love it so much on track. Everything that we did to sort of design the suspension and make it a track car, everything except for the DCT has worked out phenomenally. It's an incredible thing to drive. I really, really enjoy it. It's probably my favourite driving car of everything I own. But I'm just always let down by the transmission. So yeah, it is time to fit the real deal, basically.
The real thing.
It's now a race car.
I know some people are going to be saying, why not just stick a 6-speed in?
And yeah, I did think about that, but part of the reason why I carried on for so long with the DCT is because when it works, it's phenomenal. Some of the videos that you've probably seen over the years of this car, when it is working, it's absolutely wicked. And if I was to go back to manual and slow shifting, there'd be a lot more fun involved in some ways, sort of the heel and toe element and rev matching, etc., that I enjoy in all my other cars, a lot of my other cars. But yeah, I feel like I'd go backwards if I was to just manual this. So sequential it was, and obviously that's a pretty significant cost for the Drent in particular, because it's the one that you want. It's the one used by all the race teams. However, if I was to actually add up what I've lost through having the DCT transmission in this car, lost track days, lost time.
I mean, let's think about it. It's what, second, third gearbox in there at the moment?
Well, it's like third or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's all the shipping the car up and down the country to solve problems, all of my time. It easily adds up to, I don't know, 25 grand of loss.
Yeah.
I'd
Two
say,
controllers, three gearboxes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And the frustration, and I was determined to make it work. I've tried my best, and as I say, a lot of people have been very helpful. It just doesn't work. It's not going to work for me. I'm never going to get it working as reliably as I need it to. So yeah, it's all about moving forward. Forget about all of that. I have had many good times in this car, but as I say, it's usually ended up in me putting the car on a trailer with it not working, or going to use it the next time and it won't even pull away for whatever reason. But yeah, let's move forward. Now we're just going to start removing stuff. We've got to take the exhaust off, and the first thing we've got to do is measure the prop, the difference in length in the gearbox, if there is any. I imagine there will be, and see about getting a prop shortened.
Drive shaft for foreigners.
Sorry, for America.
Yeah.
We call it prop shaft, but yeah.
Yeah.
Drive shafts are the things that go to the wheels.
Yeah. Axles.
So yeah, we're going to drop that down, do some measurements. We have most of the components. Got obviously the bell housing there. We've got the flywheel and clutch arriving from VAC. That's arriving tomorrow, I think. Tiny little clutch and flywheel, 5.5 inch, something like that.
One of Craig's favourites.
Yeah, he's going to love it. But yeah, we've got Tilton parts coming for the pedal box. Luckily, we still had the lever point for the clutch pedal in the car, so we just needed to buy some replacement parts and a master cylinder. So aside from the obvious reliability side of things hopefully being improved with sequential gearbox, we've also got a few other things, and one of them is weight. This car has always been a bit on the chubby side, so DCT gearbox I believe is quite heavy. We've also always had, if I just grab that, a ground clearance issue. I don't know whether I can get this at the right point. There you go, just about there. So that's chassis rail, and below it, even with this shortened sump on the DCT, it hangs out really low with the car. And then I had to have a titanium skid plate here because we'd modified the sump for clearance to drop it down far enough. It had a titanium skid plate here, and I was basically never able to get the front of the car at the ride height that I wanted it to be, ideally, because it would then hit the transmission into the floor here. So I will hopefully be able to lower it a bit, AJ.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Make it more awkward to get on trailers and ramps.
That's basically what it's about, because this one goes straight on this ramp, which is
perfect
and unheard of when
it is with your things.
So yeah, there'll be a few other changes along the way, and I have no doubt we're probably going to remake the entire exhaust.
I'm sure we are. But how many times is that?
Well,
3,
at least
4,
5 on this car, I think. Yeah. Probably better get on with this. One of the other massive weight savings. We will not need this. Was it 36 row?
It's whatever the biggest one.
Yeah, it's massive oil cooler. So we've got one for the engine cooling, and we've got one for the DCT currently. We will need a cooler, but it runs -6 lines and will probably be, I don't know, 9 row maybe, something like that. As long as we can do all of the ducting that we did on this. That was a big part of why this worked so well, is the ducting we did and the partitioning.
Quite a bit of trouble when you first built it, didn't
we did, yeah. We couldn't get the airflow, because if you look at the aperture on the front bumper, it's very, very tiny on E30s, and as you can see now that there's orange floor, this is actually cut out, not black sticker like it should be. So we made quite a difference with that, and as I say, just forcing the air through where it's supposed to go by filling all voids and using rubber to divert worked really well. Holy balls.
That doesn't belong in a racing car.
And why doesn't it belong in a racing car?
What,
Because...
it doesn't work? No, because it's really heavy.
I was expecting the gearbox to be... I don't know where I got these numbers from, but I was expecting it to be like less than 60 kilos, maybe about 60 kilos.
The bare gearbox was 87 without any of the extras, wasn't it?
82. So
82,
it was,
sorry.
yeah, as it sits with no oil in it, just the DCT gearbox was 82 kilos, and then we've just quickly landed the stuff on this that has come off the car that isn't going back on. Some of it is going to be replaced. So obviously there'll be a smaller oil cooler, there'll be smaller oil cooler lines.
Quite a lot less oil.
There will be some oil. We've only got 8.5 litres
on there.
yeah, of oil here, and actually it ran more like 10 to 11 litres in the car. The gearbox mount itself will be redesigning, so we'll have to factor that in when we weigh the strength. But yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing, really, isn't
I
it?
guess you can see if I can pick this up, it's not 82
Well, yeah,
kilos.
we've been wondering whether we were just getting super old, lifting that thing up. Look at that, Jay's a really old man.
I'm not strong, and it is quite heavy, but it's not 82 kilos.
So yeah, I think, well, things are already looking up, aren't they? Because that is pretty mental. Yeah, obviously, as I say, we're going to weigh that with the other stuff, so shifter, however much oil it's going to run, and the bracket that we make, and all the other stuff, so it's directly comparable, but it is looking pretty promising. It's going to be slightly
I think
lower.
we're going to be half the weight.
Could be, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Could be. That'd be amazing. So still lots to go on that, but looking promising. That's fairly different already. We're just going to mount the bell housing now. We still haven't got the clutch. We're waiting for that to arrive today, clutch and flywheel. But yeah, we can get this mounted up so that we can potentially look at making the gearbox mount into the chassis. Okay, time to get the grinder out on this. Yeah, there's just this pipe up here. It seems that the bell housing's just hitting that, and if you look at the thickness of that there versus the standard one here, it just looks like it needs a bit taken off the top of this. Precision machining.
Yeah, hand machine. Let's get some bolts.
Yeah, it's on.
Ready? That's it.
That's one.
Ready?
Yeah, so I got a nut in my pocket, 1 second. So, one gearbox there. Unfortunately, just found out that the flex disc, or the output shaft, is the wrong size. I've just been and checked the spec on the gearbox, and they did quite clearly state that it's an E46 output shaft. So my bad, I just didn't, I don't know whether I thought that E92 and E46 used the same size flex disc, but this is much bigger. So I've just sent them a quick email to see whether they do a different output shaft flange for this, and in the meantime we're having a look at what we might do about the gearbox mount itself, and also taking the opportunity to potentially I can't remember, did I mention what I wanted to do? Lower the engine.
Make everything again.
Yeah, make everything really complicated.
Yeah.
Even with our custom intake plenum that we made for this car, it's always touched the bonnet, and guys that have followed me for a while know how fussy I am about bonnets and things protruding and bulging. I'm not a massive fan of. So I've always wanted this to be lower, but the DCT always hung so low. So we're actually looking at potentially being able to just make new mounts. You can probably see from this side a bit better, that hole there that supports the engine, and potentially drop the whole engine by 10 to 12 mil, which will be fantastic. We're just trying to do our best to see what the consequences of such action might be. Exhaust looks good so far. We're going to have an interference issue with this pulley here, but we can just machine that off. I think that unbolts, so we can just stick it on the lathe, so that won't be a problem. Most of the pipes to radiators, etc., are flexi, so that should be fine. We are going to have an interference issue with, if you can just see here, this is the top of, come on, focus. Okay. Top of the steering rack mount there, but these are bolted in from underneath here, so we can just shave down the corners there. And yeah, we need to lower it down just to double check, see whether there's anything else that's going to be a problem if the engine is sitting 10 mil lower. Things are escalating.
As usual.
I have looked into this in detail, and it looks like I might be able to get the engine to go back a bit as well, so that's what we're looking at.
Back and down?
Yeah. Cutting down some bosses to weld onto our engine mounts. And a bit of one-handed lathing. You get the point. Smoky?
Piss poor preparation.
Piss poor preparation. Everybody's favourite.
Or J prep.
Yeah. Well, I did bring it to you and go, oh, that's not very good. Do you want me to go and do a bit more?
Yay!
Woohoo! It didn't spin around and hit me in the face either.
Not that
you were
one.
all hoping, weren't you?
There's plenty of time on this one.
This was the big one, so that was alright.
Let's put the bolt through it.
Yeah.
So they're positive, yeah?
I mean, I might need to wiggle the drill about.
Yeah. Let's see if that measuring worked out.
Scary face.
Squint face.
That light is so useful, but yeah, it's also very blinding. Good one. It has been. We haven't filmed it today. It's the end of the day, Thursday today. So we have done quite a lot. The engine mounts are in. The engine is perfectly level. The gearbox is perfectly level.
Oh shit! Oh, that's a bad one.
Fucking ramp. So the engine mounts are in, and the engine is sitting really nicely. It is, if I show you here, it's pretty level. Oh, can you see? Can I let you see? No. Anyway, believe me, it's zero. We've also had to do some shimming left and right because the flex disc on the E30 M3 is massive. So we've had to position this even more perfectly within the transmission tunnel. And then we've also, as you may see here, had to do quite a bit of heavy bashing.
We've put a new prop, lad. thing on as well, haven't we?
Oh yeah. So this is just here for mock-up at the moment. We're testing whether the existing exhaust is going to fit. We've had to make a bit more room here as well. As you can tell, I'm not afraid to hit this to solve problems. The prop shaft, I've been and got a new E30 M3 different type of centre carrier bearing that allows us to mount this properly, because previously it was kind of mounted that way up.
Yeah, the E90 one has an ear.
Yeah, in the middle.
Through the centre, yeah.
And it was kind of hung. It was not something that we did, and it was an absolute nightmare to get to. So, yeah, we've now got this pushed up perfectly. Now that I've made some more clearance here as well. I know it looks janky, but it'll look better than this, I promise. So yeah, this is sitting much higher up. It's much more level than it was as well. You've got to be really careful with the amount of degrees difference between output flange, the flex disc, and into prop, and we have less than 0.5 degrees on this, so that's really good. We're waiting to finish up our plans for the mount here, so we've just been discussing this.
You're only going to get questions if you don't say this 0.5 degrees is because we're running the rubber thing and a two-piece prop, so your UJs aren't going to run at 0. whatever degrees.
Yeah, so the back half can do what it wants almost. That's absolutely fine on this.
That's going to have like some angle on the UJs, because if you run them straight they start flapping about.
And we used to have a single piece prop on this, and I had massive issues with it being absolutely horrible, which
I know all about that.
You are familiar with. In fact, so am I, to be fair. The 86 has one as well, and at really high speed, even during drift, sometimes I get massive prop vibrations, so not pleasant. So yeah, anyway, a lot of boring stuff, which is why I haven't really picked the camera up. It's all about centralising stuff. Clearances are very, very tight on everything. But the success with the engine mount position changes, you can see here, we've had to scallop that out. We've got to finish this up more. The engine has been pushed back 15 mil and it's down 10 mil. So that satisfies my silly brain quite nicely. And everything just looks like it's going to still have the same amount of clearance throughout everything, and we'll still be able to get the titanium belly plate, which I made. Well, actually, I made Jay make.
I spent a long time cutting that.
Yeah, if you've ever cut tie, it's a really, really horrible material to work with. So, I mean, what else have we done? That's probably about it, isn't it? I was going to show the gearbox mounts, but we'll probably do that in the next video. Because, yeah, it's the end of Thursday. Jay doesn't work Fridays. So we'll call that the end of this one. Pretty successful, very, very happy with it. The weight of the gearbox is going to be massively different. And as I say, I've satisfied my slightly obsessive weight distribution, engine height type things. No, that's made me happy. Craig still thinks it's completely pointless, but you know. It's all good. It's been in my brain for ages, and now I've got it out of my brain, so happy days. Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please give us a like if you enjoyed the video as usual, and if you feel like buying something from the Driftworks shop to support what we do, that is always much appreciated. We shall see you next week. Bye.